What's up, guys? Eric Prey, Focus Fishing Guide Service, Table Rock Fishing Intel. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock. It is Wednesday, May the 19th. Fished full day yesterday, so didn't get a chance to shoot the video yesterday. Fished this morning, forgot the video, so we are in the garage this afternoon getting this thing done. Forgot to take the camera with me. Bites changing, fish are moving, catching quite a few fish. Things are just changing up a little bit. As far as our lake level is concerned, we are at 917.6, which is technically a foot high because we're in that transition period from 915 to 917. And so right now we would be at the 916.6 level would be normal. So we're in that transition period. I think the Corps is going to get us down to 917 here. I think by next week, about this time next week, we should be at 917, which would be normal pool. Unfortunately, beaver is about 7 foot high and bull shoals is about 17 foot high. So a lot of water, and they are still moving water. They did finally shut the floodgates off, but they are still running pretty much constant generation right now. Water temperature, seen anything from mid 60s to low 70s. Was up in the Kings River yesterday. By the way, there's a lot of debris up there. If you're going that way, be careful. And we were seeing 71, 72, so keep that in mind. Water is definitely warming up. Fish are definitely moving. Best way to stay on top of that, of course, is become a pro member of Table Rock Fishing Intel. That will get you daily reports, weekly reports, all the feature videos, get you an idea where these fish are, what they're doing, and basically knowing before you head to the lake how you're going to catch fish or your best bets to catch fish. If you're coming down, though, going to fish the lower end of the lake. Lower end is still probably the toughest end of the lake. Part of the reason, still have some moss on the bottom at the lower end. Seems like for the most part, everywhere else the moss is going away. There's some in Kimberling and certain areas, but really none on the lower end. The moss is still pretty thick, making it a little bit hard to fish anything on the bottom like a Ned or a shaky head, but we are catching them on top water down there first thing in the morning. Top water bite's not fantastic, but we are catching them. You get a cloudy day and they'll bite it pretty much off and on all day long. Sunny day and it's a little bit tougher, but you can definitely catch them on a surge shad, spook, whopper, plopper, whatever you like to throw as a top water. Other bite that's working down there has been a swim bait. The Kitech 2.8 is still a very effective swim bait down there on the Jewel Gem Shad 2.0. Most of the fish are transitioning out of the spawning pockets and more onto flat gravel. It seems like the flatter the gravel you fish, no matter where you're on the lake, the more bites you get, the more fish you catch. So keep that in mind. Going to the mid-lake area, the moss is a lot more spotty there. It seems to be going away a lot faster there. As this water warms up, hopefully by the weekend, we will see pretty much all the moss in the mid-lake area be gone as well. With that being said, it opens up throwing a Ned rig, jewel squirrel head, a tube, peewee football jig. All those baits are working. Again, seems like that flat gravel, the flattest gravel you can find both main lake and back in the creeks, is where the biggest concentrations of fish are. Catching a lot of smallmouth right now, and that'll probably last through June, but then they start to go away. Well, usually by the middle of June, the smallmouth go away and we catch more Kentuckys. Have noticed these fish are starting to move deeper all over the lake. They were when the lake was up and we had flooded bushes. These fish were basically either in the bushes or just outside of the bushes. Now they're definitely moving out deeper, especially in the clearer water. Better bite seems to be between 8 and about 15 foot deep. If you find the dirtier water, they'll be shallower, about 4 to about 12 foot deep. But catching a lot of fish on baits, dragging baits on the bottom, catching them on a top water as well. Top water bite is not great yet, but we are certainly catching a few fish every morning on top water, and it's a day-by-day thing. One day you'll catch them good, the next day not so much, so always have a top water laying on your deck. Never know when they're going to come up busting shad. And then a swim bait bite as well, catching them on the Kitech 2.8, on a Gem Shad 2.0. Again, most of them. When these fish will suspend or you get a windy day on these gravel flats, you can catch a lot of smallmouth really quick on a swim bait, basically holding the boat in about 20 to 25, making a long cast to the bank and just not even letting it sink very much. These fish get very aggressive when you have a windy day. I know we've got some wind coming in tomorrow and the next day, so we'll definitely see a good swim bait bite in the mid-lake area in the next couple of days. Go up into the James, and the James has got a good jig bite. There's really, as far as I can tell, there's not much moss to be found up the James. Been catching them really good on a jig and on a shaky head and even a Ned rig if you're so inclined. Basically on gravel. Everything is starting to transition to those gravel flats. The fish are starting to move a little bit deeper. James has still got some decent color to it, but it is starting to clear just like the rest of the lake is. And unless we get some of the rain that they forecast, which we haven't so far this week, I don't see the James getting a whole lot dirtier. That's positioned those fish a little bit deeper. Fish have been out there, you know, they've been right up against the bushes when it was high, but now that the lake's coming down, these fish are actually moving out a little bit more. 6 to 12 foot has been kind of the magic depth range. Jewel Pro Spider jig's been working, Jewel Pee Wee football jig, squirrel head, Pro Spider jig, Ned rig if you're so inclined, catching them doing that, catching them on a topwater as well. Surge shad's probably been the best topwater surge shad, or a redfin if you like to throw the redfin. Catching a few on a spook, but it really seems like they want that slow action of a surge shad. And most of those fish are anywhere from, you know, they'll be over anything from 5 foot deep out to about 30 foot deep. You just kind of need to watch for the shad and watch for the fish busting on them, but you can catch them on a topwater as well up the James. Really, that crankbait bite we had, now that the water's pulled down, haven't really been catching them on a square bill that much. I'm sure there are areas we can probably still catch a few on it, but really we're starting to transition into that time where you're going to want to be throwing a slower moving bait, you know, Carolina red, football jig, that sort of thing, getting away from the crankbaits unless the water comes up, or you're fishing the backs of the creeks where you can find some fish hanging around some wood cover. You might catch some on a square bill or maybe even a buzzbait up the James. Go up into the White River. I spent a lot of time up the White River this past week. There's a few bites going on in the White River. The topwater bite has been hit and miss, just like it is anywhere else on the lake, and it's really kind of a one day they're on, one day they're not. So keep a surge shad or a spook or something laying on your deck. You just never know when they're going to come up busting around you, and they can be anywhere from over 5 foot to over 30 foot deep like they are anywhere else. Definitely keep a topwater handy. Bottom bouncing baits have been really good up the White. Pretty much the entire White is moss free at this point. Catching them on squirrel head, catching them on the Pro shaky head, catching them on a Pee Wee football jig, catching them on a Pro Spider jig, catching them on a Ned rig, catching them on a tube. A lot of fish coming. They are slowly moving deeper as the water clears up. They were right up against the bushes last week. Now that the water's dropped a couple of feet, they have backed out. Best bite yesterday up the White River was in that probably 6 to 15 foot range. And I would say with the water clearing and the conditions supposed to be sunny over the weekend, they're probably going to be in that 10 to about 18 foot range over the weekend. But again, flattest gravel you can find really seems to be key for putting fish in the boat. Mostly smallmouth and spots, but we have been catching a few largemouth mixed into them as well. But you can definitely get bit up the White River, dragging the bottom with whichever type of dragging bait you like to use. Guys, we are almost 3/4 of the way through May. Been a weird year, been a weird bite. Things are finally starting to get squared away. Moss is going away. So things are starting to turn around. Really starting to catch a few more fish on every trip. Had a couple of really good days last week where we had over 40 fish. So definitely have a better bite coming. They are starting to move deep, but the best way to stay on top of that, the best way to know what's going on day in, day out, where these fish are going to be, become a pro member of Table Rock Fishing Intel. Get those daily reports, get those feature videos, get the weekly reports, the maps, all that information. Join Table Rock Fishing Intel. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Get the one-day membership and see if it's for you or not. But it really will help you guys catch more fish. But if you're coming down, want to hire a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743 or hit my website, focusfishing.com, and either shoot me an email or book online. Either way, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Guys, thanks for watching the videos. Take a minute to check out Table Rock Fishing Intel if you haven't done so. Thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.